The call came while I was sitting on the edge of a hotel bed, tie loosened, laptop still open from a long day of meetings. I almost ignored it. The number wasn't saved, and I figured it was just housekeeping or a spam call, but something made me answer. A man's voice, careful, said, "Sir, I'm calling from the front desk. There's something you need to be aware of." I glanced at the clock. It was almost midnight. About what? I asked. There was a pause. It was too long. "Your wife checked into our hotel yesterday afternoon," he said, with another guest. I laughed, a sharp, hollow sound. "That's not possible." "She's home with our kids." Another pause, and then softer, "Sir?" I wouldn't have called if I wasn't certain. The world didn't explode. It just went quiet, like someone had muted the entire room. I told him I'd be downstairs in 5 minutes and ended the call. The elevator ride down felt longer than my entire drive to this city. When the doors opened, the lobby lights were too bright, the air too cold. The manager was waiting, hands folded, sympathy already written across his face. He didn't need to explain much. He just showed me the footage, and there she was. My wife, smiling, relaxed, her coat draped over one arm, leaning slightly into a man who stood way too close to be accidental. His hand rested on the small of her back like it belonged there. They looked practiced, comfortable, not guilty. I didn't shout. I didn't ask a single question. I just asked for copies of everything. Back in my room, I sat completely still for a long time. Then I opened my phone. She had texted me earlier, a picture of our son doing his homework, a heart emoji. It was a lie, wrapped in something familiar enough to make the hurt so much worse. I didn't respond. Instead, I started documenting dates, times, screenshots. I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was thinking about control, about safety, about what comes next when the ground just gives out from under your feet. The real panic hit an hour later. I called my daughter, and it went straight to voicemail. Then my son's tablet showed offline. I called my mother-in-law, and she told me she thought the kids were with me for the trip. My wife hadn't just cheated. She had planned this. I made one call to an old contact, someone who didn't ask unnecessary questions. Within hours, I knew where my children were. A quiet lake house 2 hours away. It wasn't ours, it wasn't family. It was his. I drove through the night, my jaw clenched so tight my head started to ache. I didn't imagine some big confrontation. I just imagined my kids' faces, scared and confused because something was wrong and nobody was explaining it to them. The police came with me. They were calm, procedural, by the book. When my daughter saw me standing near the patrol car, she didn't hesitate. She ran. She wrapped her arms around me like she'd been holding her breath for days. My son followed, confused but smiling because he trusted that if I was there, everything was okay. I didn't go inside the house. I didn't need to. Everything I needed was already in my arms. My wife called while I was buckling them into the car, screaming, accusing, crying. I just told her where the kids were going, home. The fallout was fast and merciless, not because I pushed for it, but because the truth doesn't need force when it finally surfaces. Her company launched an investigation. His wife found out, lawyers got involved. The stories unraveled. In the conference room weeks later, she barely looked like the woman from that security video. She was smaller, tired, quiet. She signed everything without arguing, custody, assets, agreements. She didn't apologize, not really. And by then, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Life didn't magically get better overnight. The house felt emptier for a while, even with laughter in it. My daughter asked hard questions. My son asked none at all. We adjusted, slowly. Honestly, months passed. The anger faded first, then the shock. What was left was clarity. I stopped measuring my own worth by what I had lost and started noticing what had stayed. Morning breakfasts, school events, peaceful evenings without the tension that we used to pretend was love. One afternoon, I was sitting in the stands at my daughter's soccer game. She scored a goal and looked straight at me like she wanted to make sure I saw it. I stood up and clapped until my hands hurt, and that's when I realized something important. I didn't win because she lost everything. I won because I didn't lose myself. I went home that night to a quiet house filled with the right kind of noise. Homework papers on the table. Shoes by the door. Dinner warming in the oven. No lies, No performances. Just real life, and that was enough. Thanks for listening. If you've been through something similar, remember you're not alone. Follow for more stories like this.